My key didn't fit the lock. I stood on my own front porch, duffel bag in one hand, gas station coffee in the other, and slid my key into the deadbolt like I'd done 1,000 times before, and it stopped cold. Wrong teeth. New lock. I tried it again because that's what you do. You try the thing that isn't working one more time like the universe might change its mind. It didn't. My phone was already in my hand. Mike picked up on the second ring, which told me everything. He'd been waiting. "Elaine," he said, voice steady, rehearsed, like he'd practiced it in the bathroom mirror. "The house is gone. I filed for divorce. It's for your own good." For my own good. 7 years of marriage, and that's the line he went with. And do you know what I did? I smiled. Standing right there on that porch with my duffel bag and my cold coffee and a key that didn't work anymore, I smiled so wide my cheeks hurt. "Okay, Mike," I said. "Okay." Then I hung up, opened my texts, and typed 6 words to my lawyer. They took the bait. File everything now. Welcome to my channel. My channel name is The Revenge Room. Now, that smile didn't come from nowhere. It had a blueprint behind it, and to understand the blueprint, you need to understand who built the trap, who walked into it, and why I let them think they were winning for as long as I did. My name is Elaine Vargas, and 7 months before that porch, I was sitting at my desk at Red Rock Property Group in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, reviewing a lease compliance audit on a strip mall with 3 code violations and a tenant running an unlicensed nail salon out of a storage unit. That's what I do. I read leases. I find what doesn't match. I catch the things people hope nobody notices. I'd been doing it for 4 years, and I was good at it. Good enough that a promotion to team lead was on the table, a jump from $68,000 to $79,000, which would finally make the math work on my Aunt Rita's situation. I met Mike at a crawfish boil in April 2017. He was a service advisor at Patriot Chevrolet on South Memorial in Tulsa, which sounded more impressive than it was. He mostly argued with warranty companies and upsold tire rotations. We married at the Tulsa County Courthouse 14 months later because neither of us wanted a big wedding and both of us wanted to stop paying 2 rents. Romantic? No. Practical? Absolutely. And for 5 years, practical worked. Then it stopped working, and I didn't notice when because I was too busy noticing other things, like the letter from Magnolia Terrace, the assisted living facility in Wichita Falls where my Aunt Rita lived. Monthly rate increase $340, new total $4,180 a month. Rita raised me after my mother moved to Amarillo when I was 11 and decided motherhood was optional. Rita was 71, had macular degeneration and a hip replacement that didn't take right. I was the only person in the family who visited, called, or paid attention to the invoices, so when that letter arrived, it landed entirely on me. That was September. The same month, I noticed a charge on our home visa, $129 a month to something called Pro Edge Financial Tools. Mike didn't use financial tools. Mike used a calculator app and round numbers. I flagged it in my head and moved on because I had 6 lease audits due by Friday, a 71-year-old aunt whose rent just jumped, and a husband I was still choosing to believe in. And that same week, a man named Jameson Fulbright stopped by my desk with a coffee, oat milk latte, no sugar, which he'd remembered from a conversation 3 months earlier. "How's Rita doing? Any news on the rate thing?" I told him everything, because that's what you do when someone remembers your aunt's name and your exact coffee order and has never once asked you for anything in return. I didn't know then what I know now, but I'm not telling this story for sympathy. I'm telling it so you know exactly what it looks like when the person handing you Band-Aids is the same person holding the knife. What would you do if your closest ally turned out to be your biggest threat? Let me know in the comments, and stick with me because this story is only just getting started. Jameson Fulbright had been at Red Rock for 6 years. Senior leasing agent, 1 level above me, different portfolio but same floor, same broken coffee machine that gave out every other Thursday. He was 38, divorced 2 years prior, and he dealt with it the way some men do, by making jokes so sharp you forgot to feel sorry for him. My ex got the house, both cars, and the dog, he told me once over lunch at the taco place on 71st. She even kept my Netflix password and changed the profile name to Loser. I respect the commitment. He made me laugh during a month when laughing felt like lifting furniture. And he did real things, covered 2 of my lease reports when Aunt Rita had a scare in November, stayed late to help me reformat a compliance spreadsheet our system had corrupted, brought me a breakfast sandwich the morning I came in looking like I hadn't slept, because I hadn't. Jameson never flirted, never crossed a line, never made it weird. He was the kind of friend where you forgot to wonder why he was being so nice, because the niceness just made sense. Some people are like that. Or some people are very, very good at seeming like that. October. A month after that mysterious charge, I was digging through Mike's glove compartment looking for the car insurance card. His Silverado smelled like old French fries and a pine air freshener that had stopped working in August. Behind the owner's manual, stuck to a ketchup packet, was a Capital One statement. Balance $14,338.41. I didn't know this card existed. 4 years reading financial disclosures for a living, and my own husband had a credit card with $14,000 on it that I had never seen. I sat in that driveway for 12 minutes. I counted. Then I went inside and asked him. Mike didn't explode, that would have been easier. He got quiet and small, leaned against the kitchen counter, picked at the label on his water bottle, and said, "It's for car parts, a side project. You wouldn't get it." A side project? $14,000 on a card with a 26% interest rate? I'm not a mathematician, but I can multiply disappointment by compound interest just fine. I told Jameson the next day. He listened with his elbows on his knees, nodding slow, and said, "My ex had 3 cards I didn't know about. That's how it starts. 1 card, then a second, then suddenly you're staring at $40,000 of someone else's decisions." He didn't tell me what to do. He asked questions. How's the mortgage? Do you know what the house is worth now? Is your name on everything? At the time, I thought he was helping me get my bearings. Practical questions from a practical man who'd been through his own mess. I answered all of them. Mortgage was $161,000 left on a house we'd bought for $191,000. Current value, based on a comp I pulled from Zillow, somewhere around $287,000. My name was on the deed, joint ownership. Good, Jameson said. That matters, trust me. Meanwhile, Aunt Rita's facility needed a new payment arrangement by end of October. Then came November, the month everything started leaking. I tried to log into our joint checking account at Arvest Bank. Password didn't work. Tried the backup. Didn't work. I called the branch and a woman named Tammy, patient voice, told me that Michael Vargas had revoked my digital access privileges on October 29th. "He can do that?" I said. "He's a joint account holder, ma'am. Either party can modify online access settings." I sat at my desk with the phone still against my ear and felt something shift in my chest. Not anger yet, something before anger. The moment your brain finally accepts that the thing you've been explaining away can no longer be explained away. I told Jameson over lunch. He handed me half his turkey sandwich without me asking and said, "Document everything. Dates, amounts, screenshots, write it all down on paper. That's what my lawyer told me when I was going through mine. You'll need it eventually." It sounded like solid advice, and it was if you wanted someone to stay busy with a notebook instead of hiring a professional. I didn't see that at the time. Hindsight has 20/20 vision and a mean sense of humor. That same week, a quiet coworker named Warren Jessup mentioned something when we were both refilling coffee. "Hey, I saw Jameson's truck at Patriot Chevy that other Saturday, getting work done on that F-150. I said I didn't know. Jameson drives a Ford. Why would he get it serviced at a Chevrolet dealership? I filed it in the back of my mind like a receipt I might need later and moved on, because Mike was where all the obvious problems were. Warren's comment was a 2-second blip that didn't register above the noise. That was a mistake. 4 days after I told Jameson about the bank lockout, Mike cornered me in the kitchen. "Stop calling the bank," he said, not yelling, controlled, rehearsed. Stop going through my truck. Stop checking on me. I know what you're doing, Elaine. He listed specifics, the login attempt, the call to Tammy, the glove compartment, things he shouldn't have known in that kind of detail, unless someone had walked him through each item one by one. Has someone ever repeated back to you something you never told them? That freeze you get, like your blood forgets which direction it's supposed to flow? That was me, standing in my own kitchen on a Wednesday night. I told myself the bank must have sent him a security alert. Banks do that, right? I didn't consider the alternative, because the alternative would have meant suspecting the one person who was keeping me from falling apart. "You're being paranoid," Mike said, and the word landed exactly where it was meant to, in the part of my brain that was already exhausted, already doubting itself, already wondering if maybe I was making this into something it wasn't. Where are you watching this from right now? Because I want you to remember this moment in the story, because everything that comes next changes the moment you know what I know, and we're not there yet. By late November, my friend Connie from church stopped returning my calls. Just stopped. No fight, no explanation. My neighbor Patrice, who used to wave from her mailbox every single morning, started timing her trips outside to avoid me. I could see her through the blinds, waiting until my car pulled out before she'd walk her dog. Mike was telling people things. I didn't know exactly what, but I could feel the radius of it, the way a room gets when people know something about you that you didn't tell them. I found out later he'd been saying I was paranoid, controlling, that I'd been going through his phone and his mail and his accounts like a woman losing her grip. And the worst part? Some of it was true. I had gone through his glove compartment. I had called the bank. From the outside, I probably did look like a woman coming apart at the seams. I just didn't know yet who had written Mike's script. The Tuesday it truly hit me was December 3rd. I know the date because it was the same day Magnolia Terrace sent the second notice about Aunt Rita's payment plan. I remember holding both things at once. A past-due invoice for my 71-year-old aunt, and the absolute certainty that my marriage was rotting from the inside out. That morning, my body voted no. First time in 2 years I called in sick. I drove to the Walmart on 71st and parked in the back corner of the lot, near the garden center, where nobody parks in winter. Sat there for an hour and a half. Ate a bag of peanut M&Ms from the center console, the kind where the candy shell rubs off against the wrapper, and they taste like wax and poor life choices. I picked up my phone to call my mother in Amarillo, put it down, picked it up, put it down. My mother is the kind of woman who'd say, "I told you so," before I finished my first sentence, and I didn't have the bandwidth for that conversation on top of the one I was already having with myself. At 10:14 a.m., Jameson texted, "You okay? You never miss work." 20 minutes later, his F-150 pulled into the spot next to mine. He got out holding a breakfast sandwich from Quick Trip. Sausage, egg, cheese on a croissant, the one I'd mentioned liking once in passing 4 months earlier. He didn't ask what was wrong, didn't try to fix it, just sat in my passenger seat, ate his own sandwich, and let me cry into a paper napkin without saying a single word for 6 full minutes. Then he said, "You're the sharpest person in that office, Elle. You're not crazy. He's the one with the problem, and you'll figure this out." If you've ever had someone show up for you, not with advice, not with judgment, just with a breakfast sandwich in silence, you know exactly what that does to a person. It makes you trust them with everything. And I did. I went back to work the next day and kept digging. Found a $3,200 cash withdrawal from our joint account on November 15th, plus 2 charges at a steakhouse in Jenks called Freddy's Chop House, $87 and $112, a week apart. Mike had told me he'd never been to Jenks in his life. I showed Jameson. He looked at the numbers, pulled out his phone, and said, "Hang on, when does Patriot's fiscal quarter end? October, right?" He scrolled through something and nodded. "This looks like it could be his quarterly bonus. Chevy dealerships around here do incentive payouts sometimes in cash, and Freddy's service advisors take clients out all the time.
Guy puts it on his personal card for the points, submits for reimbursement later. My buddy at the Toyota store does the same thing. Every explanation made sense. Not perfect sense, but just close enough that arguing felt like grasping at smoke. My evidence dissolved like sugar in hot water. I sat there looking at numbers that meant everything 5 minutes ago and now meant nothing. Then Mike changed. He came home that Thursday with flowers, grocery store carnations still in the plastic sleeve with the barcode on, but still flowers. Put them on the counter and said, "I've been thinking, maybe we should talk to somebody, a counselor. I know things have been rough." This was the man who'd called me paranoid 3 weeks ago, who'd locked me out of our bank account, who'd been vanishing every night, and now he wanted couples therapy. When a man who's been cold for months suddenly brings you flowers, that's not love. That's a man who needs you to stand still a little longer. I told Jameson about the flowers. His response was, "Maybe he's waking up. Maybe he realized he's about to lose you. Give it a couple of weeks before you do anything drastic. See if it's real." It sounded reasonable. It sounded measured. It sounded exactly like what a good friend would say. It also bought exactly the amount of time they needed. Ask yourself this: how long would you have waited before you stopped trusting the one person who seemed to be on your side? Because here's where everything changes. In January, quietly, without telling a single soul, I hired a lawyer. Her name was Athena Custerman. I found her through Aunt Rita's estate attorney in Wichita Falls, a referral chain that had nothing to do with Red Rock, Broken Arrow, or anyone in my daily life. I paid the $275 consultation fee out of a savings account I'd opened at a completely different bank, using my maiden name on all correspondence. Athena had 14 years in family law, a handshake that could crack a walnut, and an office that smelled like old paper and lemon pledge. She listened to everything: the credit card, the bank lockout, the isolation, the flowers, and then said 4 words that changed everything. Keep documenting, don't confront, and don't tell anyone you've retained counsel. Not your mother, not your best friend, no one. I almost told Jameson. I came close on a Wednesday in the break room. The words were right there on the edge of my tongue, like a coin on a ledge. I got a lawyer. But something stopped me. Not suspicion, exhaustion. I was tired of narrating my own disaster. So I swallowed the words and said, "I'm managing." That tiny silence saved everything, and I didn't even know it yet.
February was quiet in the way January had been, suspiciously uneventful, like the pause between the lightning and the thunder. Mike worked, I worked. We occupied the same house the way 2 strangers share an elevator, aware of each other, careful not to touch. I drove to Wichita Falls on the second weekend of February to handle Aunt Rita's rate situation in person, sat across from the facility administrator with a folder of financial projections I'd made on a Sunday night, and negotiated a 6-month freeze on the rate increase. Rita squeezed my hand afterward and said, "You've always been the stubborn one." She meant it as a compliment. I drove home feeling like at least one thing in my life was under control. When I got back, Jameson suggested I should go again. "Take a longer trip next time," he said. 3-4 days. You looked better after that weekend than you have in months. I'll cover your compliance reports. I've done it before. You deserve a real break, Elle." It sounded like care. It sounded like the kind of thing a person says when they see you running on fumes and want you to rest. What it actually was a schedule. He needed me out of the house for 3 days. He needed a window. I said yes. I planned a trip from mid-March, 3 days in Wichita Falls, using Aunt Rita's paperwork as the cover, which was real because there was always paperwork. Meanwhile, the promotion came back around. My manager called me into her office and told me I was the leading candidate for team lead. $79,000, benefits bump, corner desk with a window. I walked back to my floor feeling something I hadn't felt since September, like the ground beneath me was solid again. Jameson hugged me when I told him. A real hug, the kind that lasts a second longer than professional. "I'm so happy for you," he said. "You deserve every bit of that." And I believed him completely. That Friday, we grabbed lunch at the taco place on 71st. He told me about his landlord's cat, a massive orange tabby that kept breaking into his apartment through a window he'd caulked 3 times. This cat is smarter than my landlord and definitely smarter than me. I laughed until my eyes watered. He talked about being lonely post-divorce, about how the apartment felt too quiet at night, how he sometimes left the TV on just to hear another voice in the room, and I felt guilty. Guilty for having problems when this man had lost everything and was still showing up every single day with a joke and a sandwich and a memory for how people take their coffee. Looking back, that lunch was the calmest I'd felt in months. And isn't that always when the ground opens up? March 17th, 3 days before the trip, I was at the home desktop in the spare bedroom, printing Aunt Rita's supplemental insurance forms. Mike did everything on his phone, emails, banking, YouTube, all of it thumbed out on a cracked screen he refused to replace. But the desktop was still there, still logged into his Google account, because Gmail and Google Drive share the same login, and Mike hadn't thought to sign out of a computer he hadn't touched in 4 months. I wasn't snooping. I opened Chrome to get to Google Drive where I kept Rita's documents. The browser loaded with 2 tabs already open. One was a YouTube video about brake pad replacement. The other was Mike's Gmail inbox. I almost clicked away. Almost, but the subject line of the second email caught my eye the way a wrong number catches your eye on a spreadsheet. It didn't belong. From Jameson Fulbright to Mike Vargas. Date March 2nd. Subject Sycamore Property. Timeline. I want to stop here for just a second and ask you something. Would you have kept reading or closed the laptop and walked away? Because for about 3 full seconds, I almost did. I opened it. The body was 3 sentences. Jameson's voice, casual and direct, the same tone he used when he talked about lease comps over lunch. Attached is the draft purchase agreement from Heartland Home Solutions. Trey's ready to move when you give the green light. She'll be in Wichita Falls the week of the 20th. 3 days is enough. Change the locks Tuesday. Trey files the offer Wednesday. I'll handle the rest from this end. Attached was a draft purchase agreement. Buyer, Heartland Home Solutions, LLC. Contact, Trey Scandlin. Property, 1847 Sycamore Bend, Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. Offer price, $219,000. Our house was worth $287,500 as of March 2nd. This email was sent 3 weeks before Mike filed for divorce on March 24th. The divorce wasn't Mike's idea. The timeline wasn't Mike's timeline. The locks, the filing, the trip, all of it was on a schedule, and that schedule was written in Jameson's handwriting. I didn't move for a long time. The insurance form sat in the print queue. The printer hummed. The house was dark because I hadn't turned on the lights when I sat down, and now the sun was completely gone. Then my brain did what my brain does. It runs numbers, it finds what doesn't match, it reads the fine print. Warren saw Jameson's truck at Patriot Chevy on a Saturday. Jameson drives a Ford. Mike works at Patriot Chevy. There was no car appointment, there was a meeting. Jameson's early questions about the mortgage, the house value, my equity, those weren't concern. That was an appraisal. He was pricing my life for a buyer I'd never heard of. I told Jameson about the bank lockout, and 48 hours later, Mike knew exactly what I'd tried to do online, right down to the specific login attempt and the call to Tammy at Arvest. Jameson told him. That's how Mike knew. The $3,200 withdrawal, Freddie's chop house, Jameson explained every single piece of evidence away, calmly, logically, with details that sounded just right. He wasn't helping me see clearly, he was protecting the scheme until the timeline was ready. Go see Rita, take 3 days, I'll cover your reports. He wasn't giving me a break, he was clearing the house. And the promotion, my manager asking if I was doing okay at home, Jameson fed her that concern not to protect me, but to slow me down. A woman distracted by personal chaos doesn't ask for a raise.
A woman promoted to $79,000 has more resources, more stability, more options. He needed me stretched thin and grateful and trusting. And Trey Scanlon of Heartland Home Solutions LLC, Jameson's half-brother. I took 4 screenshots, forwarded the entire email chain to my personal account, the mid-first one, the one Jameson didn't know existed, cleared the sent folder, logged Mike out of Gmail, closed the laptop, turned off the monitor, then I sat in my dark kitchen for 40 minutes. Not crying, not shaking, I reorganized the junk drawer twice, lined up every battery, every takeout menu, every pen cap. When I ran out of things to organize, I stopped, and my hands were completely steady. Right there at 11 o'clock at night in my own house, I stopped being hurt. I got quiet, the kind of quiet that should have scared somebody.
I called Athena at 8:01 the next morning. Her office opened at 8. I was the first call. I drove to Boston Avenue on my lunch break with my phone in my hand and laid every screenshot on her desk. The email, the purchase agreement, the timeline, Trey Scanlon's name, Heartland Home Solutions LLC. She read it once, read it again, put the phone down slowly, looked at me over her glasses and said, "This is premeditated. This is collusion to depress a property value. And the best part? His divorce filing actually works against him. Now we can use every piece of this." Here's what Athena explained, and here's why I went on that trip anyway. In Oklahoma, if you change the locks on a co-owned property, that's an illegal lockout. Doesn't matter if you filed for divorce. Doesn't matter if you think you're clever. It's a violation that gives the other party grounds for an emergency motion, immediate court-ordered access, and a judge who is now very interested in why you thought locking out your co-owner was a reasonable idea. The email proved the scheme was arranged before the divorce was ever filed. That's not a man who woke up one day and decided to leave his wife. That's a coordinated plan to force a below-market sale to a buyer connected to a third party who had been manipulating both sides for 14 months. A judge would see that. A real estate commission investigator would see that. An HR compliance officer at Red Rock would see that. "You go on the trip," Athena said. "Let him do exactly what he's planning to do. The moment he changes those locks, I file an emergency motion for illegal lockout, lis pendens on the property, a legal claim that prevents any sale until the court resolves it, and a separate complaint to the Oklahoma Real Estate Commission regarding Heartland Home Solutions LLC and the below-market purchase agreement dated 3 weeks before the divorce petition. No courtroom speech, no dramatic confrontation, just paperwork filed electronically. The most devastating weapon in family law is a well-timed PDF. I went back to work that afternoon and walked past Jameson's desk. He was on the phone, laughing about something with a client. I stopped, waited for him to hang up, and set an iced coffee on his desk. Oat milk, no sugar. "What's this for?" he said. "Just felt like it," I said. He smiled, took a sip, and didn't suspect a thing. Why would he? He'd been his project for 14 months, the distressed friend, the woman too overwhelmed to see straight. He'd built that version of me carefully, piece by piece, and he believed completely in his own construction. Was it mature, buying that coffee with a smile while I knew his entire world was about to come apart? No. Did it feel like the best $3 oat milk latte I have ever purchased in my entire life? Absolutely. I told him I was excited about the trip. He squeezed my shoulder and said, "You deserve the break, Elle. Don't worry about the reports. I've got it." I drove 4.5 hours to Wichita Falls with the calmest energy I'd had in months. Didn't even honk at the guy in the Dodge Ram who cut me off on I-44. I was saving my energy for more important things. Day 1, I visited Rita, brought her the butter pecan ice cream she loves from Brahms, sat with her for 3 hours, watched Wheel of Fortune, and held her hand while she guessed every puzzle before I could. I thought about Sycamore Bend the entire time, I won't lie to you, but I kept my phone face up on the armrest, and I let Rita win every single round. I was waiting. Day 2, 2:47 p.m. A text from my neighbor Patrice, the same Patrice who had been avoiding me for weeks, timing her dog walks around my schedule. "Hey, just thought you should know, there's a locksmith at your house right now. Didn't know if you knew." I knew. I texted Athena 2 words. "It's happening." Her reply came in under 60 seconds. "Filing now." Day 3, I drove home, pulled into the driveway at 1847 Sycamore Bend, walked up the porch steps, put my key in the lock. It didn't fit. I called Mike. He answered on the second ring with that rehearsed voice and that bathroom mirror sentence, "The house is gone. I filed for divorce. It's for your own good." And I smiled, right there on that porch, duffel bag in one hand, cold coffee in the other. I smiled so wide my cheeks hurt. "Okay, Mike," I said. "Okay." Hung up, opened my texts, and typed 6 words to Athena. They took the bait. File everything now. Athena filed everything by 6 o'clock that evening. Emergency motion, lis pendens on the house, fraud complaint naming Heartland Home Solutions LLC, and the below-market purchase agreement dated 3 weeks before the divorce petition. Mike got served at Patriot Chevrolet the next morning. A process server handed him the envelope and walked out. It took 9 seconds. He called me 4 times that afternoon, angry, then confused, then quiet, then begging. I didn't answer a single one. Jameson got 1 text from me, no words, just the screenshot of his own email, sent from my mid-first account, the one he never knew existed. He called 9 times. I let every call ring out in silence. Then I forwarded the entire chain to Red Rock's compliance department with a 1-page summary. HR opened an investigation. It took 3 weeks. I got the promotion in April. Team lead, $79,000. Corner desk by the window. Monday morning, first week in the new role, I sat down with a coffee, oat milk, no sugar, and looked out across the floor. Jameson's desk was empty, clean. His coffee mug with the chipped handle was gone. The chair was already in storage. Nobody mentioned his name, not once. Here's the thing about building a trap for someone. You have to be very careful that you don't build it around yourself. Mike thought he was ending my story. Jameson thought he was writing it. But I'm the one who reads the fine print for a living. I'm the one who finds what doesn't match. And I'm the one still sitting at that corner desk by the window. Thank you so much for staying until the very end of this one. It means more than you know. If this story got under your skin the way I think it did, hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed to the Revenge Room so you never miss what comes next. The next story is already waiting for you, and trust me, you're going to want to be there for it.